Today on Locked On Phoenix Suns, predictably, another loss against a team that just played harder than the Suns. That's not news, but a ton of stuff in an ESPN article by Tim McMahon from Friday definitely was news. Matt Ishbia, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, everybody quoted, talked about, rumored about in this piece. We'll break it down from every angle next.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. I'm Brendon, Kleen, a staff writer at Awful Announcing and a credentialed Suns media member. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen Sunday evening, Monday morning. Don't forget Locked On Suns, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button. Do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer and get locked on to the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Joining me as always from the Wild West Valley, my fellow Suns credentialed media member. How are we feeling Sunday afternoon? Ben Garcia.
You're not really that guy, but I was really hoping you'd call me Clown Garcia. But I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay. It is just frustrating. I mean, we're going to discuss the game for the next 10 minutes, but I thought the things that Bob Myers and Stephen A. Smith about this team and what you just said 5 seconds ago can be wrapped up pretty quickly. But let's get into it, man.
Yeah, we might not make it 10 minutes. As I said, the story from Friday has a lot more big picture things that are going to matter for this franchise in it, but this was a big national TV game, as you mentioned, Stephen A. and Bob Myers on the studio show, which means it was an ABC Sunday afternoon, the type of thing, you know, at the beginning of the year, you would have circled and been like, man, I got to clear out my Sunday, March 16th, Lakers Suns. That's going to be awesome. And of course, the Suns season has gone sideways, but the Lakers also had their fair share of injuries. So it ended up being kind of a slugfest, 107-96, 43% shooting for LA, 39% shooting from the Suns. They just went cold, I guess, to balance out or even things out from Friday when they couldn't miss a shot, 9 of 41 from three, and basically nobody on the Suns side had what I would call a good game, unfortunately, Ben. It's sort of hard to find any positives outside of the fact that they didn't get completely blown out here.
Did they shoot poorly or did they just throw shots up? Were they even running an offense? What were they doing out there for 48 minutes? I didn't see any semblance of an offense. What can we break down? You want to break down their backdoor cuts, their pick and rolls? I didn't see any of that. I saw a lackluster team that got up late. I'm just making that part up, but got up and decided they wanted to play a 12:30 p.m. game and they were going to play it like a YMCA game. The Phoenix Suns, I didn't think played like what Stephen A. and Bob Myers said, like they're being punished to be out there. They played like a team that had just won 10 straight games at the YMCA, but on that 11th game, just wanted to get off the court. So they were just heaving up threes, lackluster defense. They were every worst quality you could have. And like, it just frustrates me when you or I go after this team on any platform, whatever it looks like. And the consistent thing is it's everything but the players. It's the front office. It's Coach Bud. It's Royce O'Neal. God forbid we hold star players accountable. God forbid we hold the people that are supposed to be carrying this team accountable. So that's how I felt about it, man. I don't know exactly. Like, was there anything for you in this game, X's and O's, that you can stand out of and be like, well, I didn't like that. Well, I liked that. Outside of the defense, it wasn't even defensive rotations. They weren't even trying to get out on guys on three-point shots. The Lakers, for the last couple of years, have not been a very good three-point shooting team. Why is it every team that doesn't have players that can consistently make the three or a player randomly goes off, it's always against the Suns? That is effort. That's all it is. So that's what I saw from it, man. I'm frustrated.
To answer your question, there's not any X's and O's, but I mean, unfortunately for all of us, that hasn't really been true since like November. I mean, we haven't had a lot of good quality basketball stuff to really talk about because they can't get out of their own way. So if you were to ask me what stands out from this game. I mean, it's the same stuff we've sort of had to force our way into discussing lately, which is just the rotation and who played. And it almost feels like we're sort of talking about like a rebuilding team, because the only things that really stand out is like individual spurts from young guys. Colin Gillespie got minutes. He wasn't fantastic from the field, but I thought that he brought the pace, the defense, the energy that he kind of had. He's also like weirdly a good rebounder. I thought he got some bad foul calls on a couple moments with Luka, most notably, and then there was one at the rim as well where he had a pretty good play on the ball, and I think just being a small rookie or small, second, third-year player hurts him. And then Oso and Dunn continue to, I think, impact the game the way that you would want to see. I felt like, I think for the past couple games that Dunn has started, it's been nice to see him just having those high three-point totals. If he shoots 2 of 8, 2 of 9 every game all year, but the 8 and 9 keep being there, I'll be thrilled. So I think the fact that this stretch where he wasn't even playing for whatever reason didn't affect his confidence so much that he's a shell of himself, playing hesitant and cautious out there now that he is more of a fixture in this rotation. I think that that's really good to see. But no, I mean, I really think what doomed them in this game, just to not even be able to really mount any kind of big run after they went down 16 early, was Booker just did not play very well and had the ball in his hands a lot. Bradley Beal went out at halftime, take a shot, do whatever kind of bingo thing you need to do there. That was predictable that he would be out before long again, had been a few games. So that's kind of where we are. And then if that's the case and Tyus doesn't have it going, Gillespie's not really doing much in terms of, offense, then Booker has to be great. And he wasn't. So but I think a lot of it was same old.
I don't mean to go after you, but I kind of am going to, just because you said it. But the Lakers didn't have LeBron. They didn't have Luka for large stretches of this game. But what did we see from them? A ton of effort. Well, Luka, no, for a decent amount of this game, they didn't have Luka. Just when he hurt his ankle a little bit. That's all. Ankle, heel, whatever it was. Not him. Yeah. He played in this game. We saw that the first quarter. He was awesome. After that, it was a little so-so. But after he took that hit from Oso, regardless, we don't even have to mention the Luka thing. They didn't have LeBron James for all of this game. But what happens? Effort. I'm going to be honest with you. I actually circled this game and I was like, I actually think the Suns can win this game. I even so stupidly talked myself into, if the Lakers got the 2 seed and the Suns were the 7 seed and LeBron has another fluke weird injury where he can't play, Suns could get to the second round. And then who knows at that point, just foolish of me, man. I don't know what I was thinking with this team, because you look at Jackson Hayes is their big. I thought Nick Richards was going to have a nice day today. He was borderline invisible, and 6 rebounds, not good enough for a Lakers team that is overly small, but aggressive. And that's what you said about Colin Gillespie. Weirdly a good rebounder. I wouldn't say that. I would just say it's a lot of effort. When you're running around the court, the ball tends to find you sometimes. So, I'm over it. Yeah.
Suns gave up 19 points off turnovers. They gave up, 42 points off threes. They allowed the Lakers to get to the free throw line a ton, which, they really doubled down on that as a strength of their team after the Luka trade, when Reeves and LeBron were already heavy free throw guys. So that's really it. The Lakers weren't exactly awesome today. They looked like a team without LeBron. They looked like a team that is very thin, and even Rui didn't play. So this was winnable. This was one that you should have circled, but too often this has been the case. All right, let's get to Tim McMahon's Bombshell, big, long article at ESPN.com from Friday. We didn't have an episode since then, so reactions to Matt Ishbia's comments, Devin Booker's comments, Bradley Beal's viral quote about being happy, and Kevin Durant's latest with the trade next. First, today's show brought to you by DoorDash. NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass. Every time a player drops 50-plus points in a game the rest of the season, you score a huge deal the very next day. It's simple. When any player puts up 50 or more for the remainder of the regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off their order, up to $10 off the next day from noon till midnight. All right, so look, I'm not exactly going to be expecting anybody on the Suns to do this anytime soon, but look, Sunday night, you got Anthony Edwards against the Timberwolves. You got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander against Milwaukee's defense. Those look pretty nice. Monday night, I'm sure there's plenty more to look at. Luka against the Spurs might be one. You never know what can happen across the wild world of the NBA, whether that's a late night craving, lunch on the go, or a game day feast. Dash Pass members are celebrating the rest of the way. So sign up for Dash Pass. Be ready to save. When any player scores 50 plus in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off and order the next day up to $10 off. Just use the promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight the next day after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. Today's episode also brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook. You know what month it is. March Madness is here. FanDuel's giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can bet $200, get $200 in bonus bets, win your first $5 bet win. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. Look, by Thursday when the tournament starts, there's going to be massive favorites. You can just get your easy win then. But if you want to be ready to go Thursday with your bet already, your $200 in bonus bets already, I think there's plenty of favorites in the NBA that you can go to. I mean, if you're listening to this by Sunday evening, the Clippers are minus 820. That one's pretty easy. It might even be a live bet by then. I never really... whenever you guys are listening to this, NHL, there's massive favorites. That's all you got to do. Just find one, put the $5 down, get your win, get those 200 in bonus bets, and have some fun. Visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. All right, Ben, let's keep it rolling here. Don't forget to sign up for the Locked On Suns daily newsletter, everybody. NBA news, Suns news. We got original writing from two different people there each and every day. Fantasy advice and more, all in one place. It's free for you. It supports us. So, we'll kind of just go through this big article in order, I guess, Ben, where you have details on the Kevin Durant trade situation, the Bradley Beal trade situation, the lack of a trade situation with Devin Booker, and I think that's kind of where we can start here. So both Devin Booker and Matt Ishbia basically on the record, Ben, it reiterated their support for one another. Ishbia wants to keep Booker around, doesn't anticipate trading him. They even, include a quote in here about everybody's on the table minus Devin Booker. And then Booker in turn said, I take pride in the community in Phoenix, the people that have supported me since I was 18 when things are ugly, and the people that are with us. We just have fallen short of accomplishing what we want, so I want to do it, and I want to do it here. That's the responsibility of being a franchise player, and I wear that with honor, so it might not look the most pretty right now, but we got to get it done, and I'm going to do it. Thoughts?
Man, I love it. And it's why Devin Booker gets such a pass sometimes, like when Devin Booker, who we have held accountable numerous times on the show, but it's why, like with Booker, it's hard for me to actively go after him like insanely, intensively all the time, because Devin Booker didn't leave this franchise when it was in the pits, when there was Draymond Green was saying he needs to get out of there. There was I can't remember who it was years ago reported that Devin Booker would want to be out of Phoenix. He has consistently stood by Phoenix. And over the past, few months, he's mostly been what he is, an all-star guard. He's a top 3 shooting guard in the NBA. Some people think he's 1. I don't think so, but he's a top 3 guard. He is Phoenix. You want to find a way to blow up your organization, blow up the fandom that you have for them. Do it like what you did with Luka Doncic. Get him out of here. You will never get something that is worth losing Devin Booker in a trade. So that's just how I feel about it. I thought it was great, and I thought it was even awesome that he came out himself and didn't say, we'll see what the summer brings. He said, no, I want to be here. And I really do admire that, even if he has not been at his best this season. You?
Well, I think you're right. The way you put it, it's earned goodwill, right? It's a little bit of leeway that you earn if you stick it out during those first years where your best teammate is old Tyson Chandler or, whatever
Eric Bledsoe.
random, sure. And then you get a little bit of grace from people now when it's ugly again. But I think, like, even with that said, he's continuing to earn it right here, right? Like he's going, because he knows with this quote, he doesn't know what he's committing to, right? Like that's kind of the thing about this that I think is so impressive from him is it doesn't necessarily, like you said, he didn't say let's wait and see. He could be playing with Kevin Durant next season, or he could be playing with Derek Lively or Jaden McDaniels or worse, for all we know, next season. And he's saying, hell or high water, I'm in. And so there were some other details here. So Ishbia, or I should say, Tim McMahon wrote, Phoenix's front office will again explore all sorts of potential personnel scenarios as the Suns search for solutions while operating under Ishbia's all-in mandate. According to Ishbia, a, quote, pivot and reload around Booker could be the direction of the franchise this summer. The futures of Beal and Durant in Phoenix are uncertain. We'll get to that in a second. And the belief within the Suns front office is that the Suns aren't as far away from contending as the standings indicate. Ishbia was quoted as saying, it's never going to happen. It's silly. Here's what I'll tell you. I have Devin Booker in his prime. In order to win an NBA championship, you've got to have a superstar. You got to have a great player. And basically the between the lines there being, they have one. And then he said later, it's surprising to me that other fans, they actually like the rebuild process. Like, oh, let's rebuild. Are you crazy? You think I'm going to go for 7 years and try to get there? You enjoy the 23, 30 draft picks that we have holding on. I want to try to see the game today. I want us to win today. And we're going to try. So that quote, Ben, is probably the more worrisome one to me, because I just think at a certain point, like, he's always going to speak that way. If you listen to him talk about something as boring as freaking mortgages, he sounds the same way. Like, that's just who Matt Ishbia is. So I'm not going to, like, knock him for the hyperness of it all, but, like, how you get there, as we've learned the hard way here for 2 seasons now, is the whole thing. And so to just say, like, you really like the 2030 draft picks, and like, it feels like he's still kind of missing the point a little bit to me, where, like, for instance, one of those 2030 draft picks, they just broke apart into 3, thinking that that would help them accomplish some of their goals, and for all we know, it hasn't. And it feels like a major loss of a trade. And you can go down the line with other ones that also fit into that. And so it just feels like this is a quote we would have heard from him last summer and doesn't really take into account how big of a failure they've had this year.
The biggest thing that worries me the most is that he hasn't learned anything. One of the reasons why I've defended Matt Ishbia, and listen, I kind of get why when he goes on there, he's speaking in positives, he's trying to rally the troops. Like, I get it, but you do have to know your audience, and it feels like to me he hasn't learned his lesson. You have seen the all-in mentality even before he was the owner of the Phoenix Suns, because, of course, he couldn't officially be the owner, so he kind of pushed through that Kevin Durant trade before he was officially in, and kind of just told Sarver, Bill's on me, basically. Part of being a good owner is learning from your mistakes. And in basketball, at times, it is a slow cook. I don't think it needs to be your way or the highway. There is a happy medium where oftentimes people are like, let's just go in the tank for 7 years. I think that's a bad way of rebuilding too, because then you become the Hornets, the Nets, like all these Pelicans for years. You never get out of the depths of Hades. Whereas I think a retool for the Suns is in order, where you can be fun and vibrant and good to watch on a daily basis, but not be a championship contender. That's the thing that Ishbia's got to toe a fine line. Last year, it was disappointing when he came on in his press conferences after they lost to the Wolves and said, listen, we won 49 games this year, and like wore that as a badge of honor. You can't keep going back and forth, man. And It was
in this
disappointing.
article, he says multiple times, like when he's talking about maybe trading Durant and things, where he'll say, like, we would be dumb not to look at everything. We have to be realistic, whatever. But then as he's explaining it, he will say, like, there was one quote in here where he says, we'll try to be better next season. It's like, you're not going to be. Well, you're not going to be more talented next season. They could have a better record because this season has fallen off a cliff. But like nobody, if they trade Kevin Durant and they are doing that retool, rebuild, whatever, or reset, whatever you want to call it, they will not be anybody's pick to make the finals, make the Western Conference final. Like that's just the reality of what's going to happen. And so he says right here, if we're going to find a way to win, and it's probably a lot easier winning with Kevin Durant than without him. But at the same time, yes, if we're not good enough in this iteration of the Phoenix Suns, we're going to find a way to be better next year. It's like, that's not how it works. That's not what's going to happen.
I agree with you. I like, what is there to say more about Ishbia than, hey man, you just got to read the room. And I thought that this interview, outside of the Devin Booker stuff, did not go over well. I thought a lot of people, it was very easy to isolate the Ishbia said we're never going to go through a rebuild. Again, man, there's that happy medium of it. And with Ishbia, you got to learn from your mistakes, man. And I'm going to give him a mulligan here and just allow him to, he's just being positive. It's all, dead in the dumps right now, and that's not great. And he's going to change his approach this offseason, although he keeps on saying maybe in a different form that he's not going to.
Well, I will. The one thing about owners is it doesn't matter if he gets a mulligan year because he gets to still be the owner. So he has to learn, right? Yeah. Otherwise, he's going to.
Do you think he will?
Failing.
Do you think there's a chance?
I mean, I don't know what that will look like, but I think people do sort of forget that last summer they mostly stood pat. They fired their coach, and they, would have traded Nurkic if they could have. But I think he did sort of learn his lesson from the 2023 offseason when it came to 2024. It's just that then 2024, when the season actually played out, got so ugly that the Jimmy Butler, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant nonsense just sucked everybody right back to 2023, go, 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 all in, everything, do everything you possibly can type of mentality. So I don't know which one it'll fall closer to this summer because there's definitely going to be moves. So, but will it feel more patient in the types of moves, or will it feel like trying to kind of split the difference and say, oh, well, let's get like somebody who we kind of like here back for KD and whatever. But let's jump to those quotes from Beal, from KD, and the reporting that McMahon did on that side of things. The last thing I'll say is just, I agree with you. It's always better to have an owner who will spend. But when we're in a situation where we're hearing from people like Bill Simmons and others that the league is tired of Matt Ishbia and aren't wanting to do favors for the Suns and are looking at this situation as like, why would I, as one of the other 29 GMs, ever do these guys any sort of solid and work with them to save them from themselves? That's when these types of public comments actually matter, more so than just me or you or a fan getting upset or riled up about it. It's the rest of the league sees this, and when they see an owner who still can't learn these lessons, and then that owner calls them in June about a trade, they're going to go, this freaking guy. You know what I mean? So it does matter how you handle yourself. It matters what you say, and it matters the way that you approach these things. So it did feel like a little bit of an own goal to kind of dig that hole a little bit deeper. But let's get to what was said about Durant and Beal's futures next. First, today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all of my money go? We all have. Between dining out, shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track, but that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building actual wealth. Here's the bottom line about Monarch Money, okay? A lot of the things that they do, you might have heard about before, but they do it all in one place. That means checking finances, tracking spending, programming and building out your long-term money goals, shared and personal accounts. Do it with a partner or without. Stay on the same page across everything you do with everybody that you do it with without any stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's Monarch, MONARCH, money.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. All right, Ben. So let's close it out here with Durant and Booker side of this big Tim McMahon article at ESPN.com. So Durant, for his part, declined further comment, saying that it was already noisy enough and he didn't want to add any kind of fuel to the fire. McMahon also wrote that Durant's professionalism, focus, and competitiveness in the wake of the deadline have been noted and appreciated throughout the Suns franchise. Take that for what you will. And then this part. So a couple things as far as the trade actually goes, since Durant kind of didn't talk about it directly, McMahon included his own reporting here. One was Rocket sources told ESPN that their discussions with Phoenix were initiated by the Suns. Let's just stop there for a second. That kind of tracks because you and I talking, the more we've talked about Houston, including last week when we were like, hey, we got a close look at these players. What do we think? I don't think it's an awesome fit for that team and that organization. And so the fact that the Rocket stuff has kind of more maybe come from the Suns side, it doesn't surprise me. And it might mean that that's one less serious candidate for KD than we thought.
And that brings the value down on Kevin Durant. That's the type of stuff that I think actually hurts the value, not the leverage discussions that we were having a couple of days ago.
Well, we're about to have him again, so
don't
dismiss him too much.
Well, no, I think the thing is it makes a lot of sense, man. To me, I would be curious how far those discussions went because I don't know why the Rockets, especially, it doesn't really make a lot of sense next year, but it even makes less sense this year because their team is playing really well. They haven't made a deep playoff run yet. You haven't seen what they can do. You don't know exactly what their weaknesses are in the playoffs. It's probably shot making, but we don't know that to be sure. So, it does make a lot of sense. That does track with me. So I just can't believe that the Suns were actively going out and doing that when Ishbia was saying for the last couple of months, he's not trading anyone. I thought that these conversations would actually happen in the offseason, but the fact that they were actively calling a bunch of teams and didn't expect it to get out, like it's two teams
I think,
at minimum, the Warriors and the Hornet or the Houston.
Well, so yeah, but I think this is just guessing sort of, but like I think what happened there is the Warriors thing was real. They absolutely effed that up. And then after the fracture happened, then the other conversations followed after that. I don't think they called the Rockets in January about Kevin Durant, right? They probably talked to teams like Houston or Memphis or Minnesota that we've kind of heard about after the Warriors stuff fell apart. That's sort of how I would expect that it happened was, okay, damn, we really screwed this up with KD. If we could salvage this situation and get him somewhere and that he's okay with now, why don't we just do it? But so the second part of this is that Tim McMahon wrote, league sources said that Durant and Rich Kleiman, the 15-time or whatever, it would be consulted on any trade discussions involving him this summer. Durant has one season remaining on his contract and would be eligible to sign a 2-year, $122 million extension with the team that acquires him, providing him significant power to influence a potential trade destination. I continue to expect that to matter a lot because NBA history tells us that, it's to not just have it be like our opinions. We just saw this happen with Jimmy Butler, right? And all throughout that, we both were, I think you even more than me, were like very convinced that Butler wanting to come to Phoenix was going to be kind of the end-all be-all factor that would force Miami to maybe even go so far as to take Bradley Beal, which obviously they didn't do, and he went to the Warriors and everything else. But how's this different? Because this reporting suggests it's the same. It's the same stuff we were reading about Jimmy for 3 months, right?
Yeah, but Jimmy didn't go to his preferred destination. He wanted Phoenix.
Well, but he ended up going to a destination where he would agree to sign an extension, where he wouldn't have
Well,
with
I
other
think
teams.
I think Jimmy was going to sign an extension with more teams than he would have. I think in my opinion, I think Jimmy was just playing hardball. I think that's what it was. I think he was trying to
Well,
get
let me put it this
both
way.
things.
The Warriors were on the initial short list, right?
Yeah.
They were on
Yeah.
when it was like, hey, Jimmy would go, he would want like Phoenix #1, but he would also go to, I think it had Dallas and it had Golden State and maybe one other team. And he went to one of those teams.
And
so
what
I'm
did
not
you-
saying KD I'm not expecting Kevin Durant the day after the season's over to leak to Shams, I'm only going here. And then it gets done 2 days later and he goes exactly. It's not going to be like that. But I do think when you are effectively an expiring contract and you are looking at all the situations, you being willing to sign on for an extra 2 years, it goes a really long way. It's the difference between a team acquiring you for one season and whatever they would evaluate that at, versus a team saying we're going to get him for 3 seasons. And obviously then the team who thinks they're getting him for 3 seasons, they're going to trade more for him because they're getting him for 3 seasons, not just one. I mean, I don't know how that could not be how it would play out.
Well, I also think that, like, yes, of course, but those teams that are going to pay Kevin Durant, whatever the big extension is, 2 years and a lot of money, triple digits,
$122 million.
$122 million. The teams that aren't competing for a championship aren't going to go for Kevin Durant. And so, like, that's my point is the Washington Wizards, yeah, I guess that's kind of a bad example, but the Charlotte Hornets, like, they're not going to spend $220 million.
Agreed, right? So you whittle down all the bad teams. Of course, that they're not going to be
but
involved.
like,
but
why would he not go to
contending? There's contending teams that I think he also would not go to, like the Grizzlies, who we already know he said no to in February. Why is he going to say yes in June?
I mean, Jimmy Butler had only said he was going to go to Phoenix. We saw that everywhere. He only wanted Phoenix. We saw Windhorst report that. We saw everyone report that he only wanted Phoenix. I mean, maybe he does go to the Grizzlies. I don't think it's going to happen.
He didn't end up in Memphis, Ben. He ended up in San Francisco with a dynasty.
Which is my point. Well, wait, I don't know if the Warriors are a dynasty. I would probably go to say that they're not. So I don't think that's fair either. But
well, I mean, they are a team.
My point is that
where the dynasty happened with players who are going to the Hall of Fame in a world-class management and ownership group in a big, huge market that pays hand over foot. That's a great place to end up playing basketball. That's not KD being dished out to Memphis or Milwaukee out of nowhere.
Well, you're making it seem like Memphis is chopped liver. Memphis is pretty good. Milwaukee's pretty good.
I think NBA players think of those types of teams as chopped liver, which is why no superstar has ever gotten traded to and then signed an extension in Memphis, Tennessee.
So Kevin Durant is only going to go to, what are we, 2 teams? Minnesota and Miami. Like, does it have to be a place that he really enjoys?
I have no idea if he even wants to go to Minnesota. I don't know what the list is going to be, but he's only going to go to places that he's willing to go to. Yes, that's my stance.
Sure. I agree as well. He's not going to go to Charlotte. My point is I don't think that as much is going to hinder the Suns' return on Kevin Durant. Like, I think he's going to go to any one of those contenders, the Knicks, the Heat, the Bucks, like whatever, one of those bigger teams. Like, yes, I think he's going to go there. My point is if no one is going to give you anything for him, if someone is going to give you nonsense, a bunch of Bradley Beal return, you're just getting off Kevin Durant's contract. Why would you do that? You might as well stick it out with Kevin Durant.
That's not in the cards. Nobody's talking about getting nothing for him.
Why? Well, that's not true. You guys in the comment section were telling me we're not going to get much of anything. The package was what? If it's 2 first-round picks and a player, yeah, man, that's a nothing burger for Kevin Durant. That's how I see it. It's a nothing burger.
But we talked through it, and I felt like I don't know in practical terms the difference of what you're trying to say. Like, they're three first-round picks and Jaden, 3 first-round picks and Jabari Smith or whatever. Like, that feels like the reason I also like was willing to accept that isn't just like my own random thoughts. It's like that is, if I kind of like track back through some of the types of trades that we've seen in the NBA, that feels not too far off.
Ooh.
Like,
what deal are we talking about, though? Because we're talking about Kevin freaking Durant. We're not talking about Jimmy Butler.
I don't think it's like that massive of a difference.
Oh, I think Kevin Durant is that big of a difference. He's still
okay,
really good defensively
you're
and an
not
elite
saying
level
what
scorer.
you want to get is what I'm trying to get.
What do I want to get?
So,
Okay, let me throw out what I want to get out there. Minimum 2 first-round picks, minimum. And I want two
check.
players.
That was in the article.
Two stable, good players. And
so the difference you're saying is one player?
No,
you just want two players instead of one?
No, because it's like with the Rockets deal. I'm getting Fred VanVleet or Dylan Brooks. Regardless, those are salary cap fillers, right?
Yeah.
So that's a player, right? A good rotational piece that I'm getting. And then I'm getting two young players, Cam Whitmore, Jabari Smith, and then I want
the
all
article
of
said,
the Suns picks back. That's what I want.
The article said 3 first-round picks and 1 young player. Of course, like you're right to keep pointing it out just so the audience is like following our conversation, because like Julius Randle, Fred VanVleet, Klay Thompson, those guys are going to probably be involved no matter what we're talking about because they make money to make the deal work. But it sounds like so the hang-up is then one more young player.
What I don't
you want 2, but the article said 1. Okay,
yes,
I'm not saying that as like that's wrong. I'm just trying to say it.
I don't think the Suns need to be forced to trading Kevin Durant, because if you're not going to get something worthwhile, I understand the Suns are going to lose whatever Kevin Durant trade they get because the other team is getting Kevin effing Durant. The point is how much are they going to lose it? Is it not going to do anything for the Suns? And my point also is, if Kevin Durant's not in a signed extension here and you risk losing him for nothing, sure, let's throw out that fantasy. You think Kevin Durant wants to spend another year here?
Lost him for nothing, basically.
Yeah, but
he ended up getting traded from the Warriors.
That's not my point.
But
that's when Kevin Durant was, what was he, 28, 27 years old? Kevin Durant is 37 now. He's trying to win a title. Do you think the Suns don't have any leverage to say, all right, fine, you can just stick it out here, man, be on a terrible team for another year? Or you can open up your team possibilities a little bit. That's my point. We don't know. Kevin Durant could fall off a cliff after this year.
What you're saying is like, you know, if you were like teaching like a business class on negotiating, I don't think you're wrong. But I also think like I guess it just like the reason I started the conversation where I did is that we were having a different conversation about Butler. And the reality is that
it changed, man.
What?
I was just like, my point is just like, you were right the first time when I said Butler's going to be in Phoenix because stars want to be in Phoenix. That's not true. I thought it was for a little bit. New information proves to me that I was wrong. Jimmy Butler didn't go his preferred destination. Dame Lillard didn't go his preferred destination. Now we really see a trend of guys not going to their preferred destinations. Before it was Anthony Davis and Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant all going, but that's not true anymore. Or at least the trend isn't going that way. So, yeah.
No, that's totally fair. What I was just going to say, even bigger picture than that is, like you said, Durant is on another plane than Butler. We could debate all day about the like incremental differences of their games and all that. But what he is definitely different in is the respect level and the legacy and the impact and all that sort of stuff. And so the idea of the Suns going to the length of throwing up 2 birds in KD's face for a year and doing something pretty rare in the history of the NBA and basically putting all that risk on KD's plate to play out his final year because, you know, whatever. We haven't really seen that happen.
Yeah, you're
to
saying
a player of that stature, right?
Yeah,
so
I don't care. What has Kevin Durant done for the Suns?
You have to.
What has he done?
That would factor into their. That would factor into their mindset as to whether that's going to happen or not, is that they wouldn't want to say F you to one of the, you know, legends of the game.
They're not saying F you. They're not saying F you. They're saying they're not going to accept a deal from the Timberwolves for Julius Randle and 2 first-round picks and see you later, man.
Well, that's what the version that you laid out would be that they're saying no to any deal.
Listen,
because I don't think KD's only going to pick one team. Like I think we're definitely in agreement on that. It's not going to be one.
I think
place
it'll be. I bet it'll be 3 teams, 2 teams that he really likes, 1 sleeper.
I just feel like it's not that crazy to get to a deal from one of those 3 teams, considering we already know roughly who they could be. that would satisfy me as a person who cares, and the Suns as a team that has to get good value back. I think that there's enough options, as we've already been talking about them for like a month now, that make me go, yeah, that'll probably get done. I just don't see why that would fall, like why there would just be so little out there all of a sudden that the Suns would go so far as to say, all right, MFer, then let's play hardball. That's just crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, if I can get Dante DiVincenzo and Jaden McDaniels and move Julius Randle for some picks, like,
I guess that's the difference, right? Like, I just think that they'll be able to find something. It just depends what the team is. So I don't think it'll have to get there. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, I don't think you're wrong with what you're saying, but I just think that they won't have to get that far with it.
I think everyone's going to play nice and everyone's going to get exactly what they want. The Suns are going to lose a Kevin Durant trade because it's Kevin Durant, but they're going to get something worth it. So I agree with you.
All right. Any final thoughts on the Beal quote?
I still
have the best job in the world and I still have my no trade clause. I'm smiling every day.
It was just state of the obvious. Listen, I know people want to go after players for not doing exactly what they want, but like he doesn't want to get traded in the middle of the season. Do I like it? No. Do fans have to like it? No. But like, what do I care if he likes his money in his no trade clause? It doesn't affect me either way. I don't have to be thrilled with it, but I understand it. Like, listen, he's being positive, whatever. I don't really care. If to me, it's a non-story.
Yeah. I agree. It's not a story, but it does affect people because the problem is he plays like he's smiling every day.
Yeah, that is
people
true.
Don't like that. People don't like
today.
Well,
today, like you pull his hamstring and he's out the rest of the game.
Yeah,
hey, Here's what I'll say, so people don't think I'm taking Bradley Beal's side. Just put him on ice for the rest of the year. I am so sick of seeing Bradley Beal. I'm so sick of seeing if he's going to be here, if he's not going to be here. The numbers show they're better without him.
Just put him on ice. Already. So I agree.
But I'm done with going.
Yeah,
just put him out. Put him on ice. I'm done with it. I'm sick of it.
The one thing that was a story from Beal is he said it's a different deal in the summer. Everything is kind of more laid out on the table, and you got more options as it pertains to his potential move out of Phoenix. So that obviously is something to keep an eye on, which we will. Keep it right here. Become an everydayer. If you have not already, hit follow or subscribe wherever you're finding us. We will be back tomorrow recapping Suns Bulls straight from PHX Arena. Enjoy your Monday. We'll talk to you then.